And our next guest this morning is Mr. Anatol Kotau, Belarusian Democratic Forces Forum. Sir, a pleasure to have you with us this morning. Thanks for joining us. All right, so there's this buzz about right now that Putin is trying to convince Lukashenko to join him in his special operation in Ukraine. Now, is he just testing the relationship, and how likely is it that Lukashenko would agree to something like that? Can we expect him to slink out?
Actually, Putin is trying to involve Lukashenko into full-scale invasion against Ukraine since the beginning of this war, of this part of the war against Ukraine since February 2022. But Lukashenko is quite reluctant to be on the side of the person who is not winning by now. And if we speak about current situation, Lukashenko is watching thoroughly what is going on with Russian offensive in Kharkiv region, and they are doing not well. So Lukashenko is trying to keep his, favorite model balancing between all the stakeholders. So he is providing the territory of Belarus for training of Russian troops, for making some supplies for production of fuel. Actually, a couple of days ago, Lukashenko visited a civil plant, which was transformed actually into a military factory producing parts of artillery shells, of course, for Russia. But this is the extent this is the margin he would like to keep in order not to be, I would say, punished like Russian regions which are neighboring to Ukraine.
And also, looking at the situation perhaps from a broader perspective, what are the risks of Belarus becoming a proxy battlefield? Because if Lukashenko is pushed further, could Belarus become a proxy battleground for Russia and Ukraine? What implications would it have?
Actually, it's also one of the concepts. It's plan not even B or plan C for Russia by now, because there are no physical and feasible signs of that Russia is preparing Belarusian territory to use it again like a starting point for invasion against Ukraine. There are no Russian troops in Belarus, and if we speak about Belarusian army, even Putin joked a couple of days ago that if that was Lukashenko who rules the Ukrainian army, the war would have ended next day. So even Putin doesn't trust his closest ally in this bloody war. They would like to keep, it's paradoxical, but now Belarus, which is neighbor to Ukraine and which is closest ally to Russia, is the safest place for Russian troops and making supplies and providing logistics for Russian army. So they would like to keep this situation as long as possible. On the one hand, and on the other hand, Belarusian territory is being constantly used for provoking pressure, for making pressure on European Union via migration crisis, which has deepened in couple of past days. Also with acts of sabotage on the territory of European Union. Now we also hearing almost each week about arrests of Belarusian Russian citizens who were involved in preparation of some actions against infrastructure, in Poland, in Lithuania, and other countries.
That's right. And so beyond all of this that Lukashenko is doing for Vladimir Putin, does Lukashenko have any interest to increase this support that he's giving to Vladimir Putin? It doesn't look like there's any interest at all for Lukashenko.
For sure, he is not interested at the moment because Putin is not winning. Lukashenko wants to be always on the winner's side. And now his main interest is to keep this situation. Then he is an ally of Russia, but he is not physically, as he keep on saying, participates in this war. To keep this balance as long as possible, because it gives him a unique opportunity to earn money making contracts with Russian military mainly, and to keep safe the infrastructure, which is the main donor to Belarusian or his own economics actually.
That's right. Business is good for him right now, and I assume he wants to keep things exactly as they are.
Yeah, that's true. But Belarusian territory for sure is being more and more engaged in hybrid operations against not Ukraine but European Union, to stop them or to keep some forces involved in fighting, for example, migration crisis, not to assist Ukraine. So this is, I would say, quite interesting strategy, and we have to agree that to some extent it's quite efficient, because if Lukashenko goes directly into the war against Ukraine, he loses immediately.
Right, and also we see that he is trying to maintain this kind of delicate balancing act here. Although there will be some internal and external challenges facing Lukashenko in the nearest future. Now, I would want us to move towards now the question of nukes and nuclear factor that is also raising eyebrows, because Lukashenko dismisses the idea of Russia using nuclear weapons against Ukraine. But what if the conflict escalates? How close is Belarus to potential danger? And most importantly, should we worry?
This is actually the main problem of, I would say, Belarusian sovereignty. Russian nuclear weapons on Belarusian territory, because it's obvious, and actually this was clearly shown in recent weeks when Russia announced its nuke trainings also involving Belarusian territory, that it's not Lukashenko. It's not Lukashenko who is in control, who has the control, who exercises the control over nuclear weapons. It's Russia. So if there is a time for Plan C, Putin will not ask Lukashenko's opinion, and we can say that Belarusian people are in position like they are hostages in their own countries, who are totally dependent on not Lukashenko's but Kremlin's decision. And this is extremely dangerous situation, because nobody knows what is going on in the head of Mr. Putin, and if he will be facing total loss in Ukraine, nobody knows which button he would press.
It's certainly very concerning, a very concerning statement there. But we should be concerned, and we should be very vigilant. And we have to also be vigilant, like you said, about possible hybrid war efforts by Russia, especially now before the elections, the European parliamentary elections. And, of course, we've got the Euros coming up in Munich, and then we have the Olympics in Paris. A lot to be concerned about.
Yeah, that's true, because all these, all to major sport events give many opportunities to, I would say, to ruin these celebrations of sports and peace. And for sure, Germany and France are on the target of Russian hybrid operations, and I hope that appropriate services of European countries will do their best to prevent any such actions.
But your comment also leads me now to my next question, and the last one here. We are facing a major blackout concerning situation in Belarus. Why is it not making headline news? As the conflict unfolds, why has the situation in Belarus received relatively little media coverage? And what are, to your mind, the implications of this lack of attention?
Actually, there are at least two reasons. First of all, Belarus is overshadowed by the war against Ukraine. This is the main concern of media's, I would say, point of attention or attraction. The second issue that 4 years has passed since rigged elections in Belarus, and still nobody has a clear strategy what to do with this country, what to do with Lukashenko, what to do with this territory. And unfortunately, the most easy and unsophisticated decision is to build the war to protect the European Union from hybrid operations going from the east. And actually, it's what are the European countries, what are European neighbors of Belarus, Lithuania, Latvia, and Poland are doing right now, because nobody knows what to do with Belarus or Lukashenko or Belarusian people, because in order to keep, in order to bring this country to democracy, the efforts of Belarusian people and their will are not enough. Unfortunately, there should be a will and very strong readiness to act by convenient methods right now on European side, and it's easier to build a wall. Of course, we understand.
That's right. And there is talk a lot of, there was, I believe it was the Telegraph that called this wall an iron curtain. And unfortunately, if anyone is behind an iron curtain, it is the people of Belarus. And like you said, Alex, I mean, it's very important that we bring attention to the fact that that the Belarusian people, there's no attention being paid to what's happening in their country. Sir, pleasure to speaking with you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.